Doing it? Yes. Okay. Recording now. Thumbs up. All right. So I thought about the message tonight, and you guys saw I posted the graphic today that says, when the going gets tough, how will we emerge? Let's talk about that when the going gets tough, because inevitably in your Plexus business, you're going to have rough spots, period. And I really think oftentimes I look at Plexus also as a kind of a metaphor for life in general, kind of the ups and downs and the roller coaster and, you know, kind of what it is. So you can put this, I think this message that I'm going to share with you guys in terms of your life and maybe in other things that are going on as well. But, you know, specifically we're talking Plexus here. So when the going gets tough in your Plexus business, how will you emerge? And I love the word emerge, and I'm going to tell you why that word is so special as I kind of go through. So I'm going to start with my own personal journey, and I want to go through my personal journey starting in January of 2014 and some really significant roadblocks that I've come up against in the 18 months that I've been doing it, and kind of where, you know, how that's gotten to me to where I am right now, you know, speaking with you guys at this place in my Plexus journey. So I started my journey in 2014, January 2014. Went into it, those of you know the testimony, super lighthearted, wanted to lose some weight, thought it'd be really neat if I made a little bit of extra money, travel with Morgan's Dance. I thought $500 a month would be great. That's really how it all started. I started in January and February sort of doing kind of on a research binge, so to speak. And my husband was super skeptical and was not really on board and thought, you know, diet, weight loss, I don't think so, Dawn. This is, you know, not something, I don't know if we should get behind this. And so in order to really kind of prove to my husband that it was going to be okay for us to do this, I kind of went on a research binge and looked at every product that Plexus was offering, went through every ingredient, you know, researched third-party websites to see what was in it, how did it work, so not Plexus stuff, but like WebMD type stuff. I don't have a medical background at all, but I really did that. And through that, I think that really did a lot of building my own personal belief in the products, like understanding. I started to really understand when this ingredient mixed with that ingredient, according to all these other third-party websites, I started to be able to see like, oh yeah, I kind of get that. I kind of get how that would work for weight loss or work for health. And so so January and February for me was about that, was really about building the belief in the products, mostly so I could prove to my husband that it was okay and that it was going to be a legitimate thing for him to try, because I had some weight loss goals for him and weight loss goals for myself, about 25 pounds after having 5 kids and 4 C-sections, being at the time 39. All right. So then by January, February, so February, I was ready to start sharing. So I did. And those kind of 2 months, started listening to other people, watching leaders, finding out how they did their business, how they were successful. And one of the main things was certainly Facebook. And we tell all of you guys that you post on your Facebook 2 to 3 times a day. I'm like, okay, I can do that. At the time I was homeschooling my kids, I didn't have a lot of extra time, but I love that I could do that. Put it on Facebook and see, kind of throw it out there into the Facebook world and see what happens. So in February, started doing that. Like many of you guys, people are curious, people are interested, started getting a lot of good response. People saying, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. So in the month of February, got some great customers, started building a customer base. And then by the end of February, I had my first 3 ambassadors. Okay. So that was like that silver ring. So I was like, woo, okay, good. So, all right. So the end of February, I have 3 ambassadors. All right, so at the beginning, I'm going into March thinking this is wonderful. I'm ready to really kick my business up with my 3 people, all right? 2 of those people were wholesale buyers, and I knew that going into it. They were wholesale buyers, and I had 1 person that was a business builder, okay? That 3rd person, I thought, yeah, she's going to build the business. She started sharing. She started adding ambassadors. And then one day, I noticed she wasn't, this is my first roadblock, you guys. I have 3 ambassadors and 1 business builder. And I noticed that she's no longer on this team page that I created. I'm like, I wonder what happened to her. She just kind of disappeared. So I messaged her and I'm like, what happened to you? I tried to tag you in something and I couldn't find you on my team page. And I get this really nasty, scathing text about me and how she didn't really like the way that I did things. She didn't like the way that I ran my business. She didn't like the way that I presented myself. She didn't want to be recognized on our team page. She thought it was tacky to talk about how much money you were making. She thought it was tacky that I was even talking about personal volume. Now, granted, I thought I was just to me, I was modeling what my upline was doing, but it was a really not very nice text. And I even thought about sharing it with you, but I won't go into the details. And you know what? It really hurt my feelings. because I was brand new. I was a brand new leader. I knew nothing. I had one business builder, and my very first business builder tells me pretty much she hates everything that I do, and she wants nothing to do with me. She wants to go off and do her own thing. And you know what, guys, that really hurt my feelings. And so I thought about it and thought about all the things that I could say to defend myself. Texting back about, hey, this, all these things weren't my idea, blah, 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 blah. But instead, I said, great, thank you very much. Let me know if I can ever help you. And that was the end of our relationship. I promise you, that was the very end of my relationship with her, and we've never been in contact since. All right, so I want to tell you guys about that. So that's my very first roadblock, 2 months into it with 3 ambassadors. But here's the deal. I had at that point developed 2 months I had 2 months under my belt of really believing in the products, really believing and understanding the ingredients and understanding. I started to see my own results. I started to see my own weight loss. I had my dad doing the products. He was pre-diabetic, kind of like right on the borderline as diabetic. Within that time, he was drinking his Pink Drink. His numbers started to be lower. My mom was doing the Pink Drink. She was noticing that her arthritis was much better and her plantar fasciitis. So I was getting good feedback. I had a couple people then come on board. Joanna, who's one of my originals, Joanna McGuire, who's still around. Love you, Joe, if you're on this call. Who was a customer at the time, and she started to have good results. So there was enough positive stuff around to say, okay, you know what, I really think there is something to be said for this. I've been looking at, and I was at the time being very engaged in Facebook and the other team and other pages and other support pages online, and watching training videos and watching testimonials and watching the Dr. Harris videos and learning about all the products. So I was super engaged at that point. In investing and learning and building my belief. And so when that happened, it was okay. It was going to be okay because there was enough other positive stuff going on that I had drawn my line in the sand and decided to keep moving forward, that this was something, in fact, that I believed in and wanted to be passionate about and share. And so moved forward. Okay, so then in March, with absolutely, first of all, you guys, Celeste, I want you guys to understand this. My sponsor, who was in Texas, I went to high school with her husband. I never met, we had never met before. We had talked on the phone one time, and she explained the business to me and explained a little bit to me, and I decided it sounded pretty good, and it didn't seem real risky, and so I just kind of signed up. So I had absolutely zero support system in Hampton Roads. Nobody in 2014 in January had heard of Plexus. It was a foreign thing, which is different than now. So I have no support system locally. There's no community. I had never been to a training before, not one single training. I had watched a few trainings online, but never done one myself, never been personally trained. And so Celeste tells me, well, you're starting to grow a team and you're excited, so you need to have a training. You need to have an opportunity event. I'm like, say what? How do you do an opportunity event and training when you've never seen one and done one? And so, in order to, when you draw your line in the sand and you move forward, you go, okay, well, if that's what I'm supposed to do, then that's how I'm going to figure out how to do it. And so, in fact, in March, hosted my first opportunity meeting. And then from that, it was really pretty successful, and people started coming on board, and Coletta came on board, and that's when Karen Rose came on board. And so we had this kind of influx of people. And so by the end of the end of March, the team started to grow, and that was partly because of really stepping out of that comfort zone, doing that training that I was terrified to do, doing the opportunity meeting when I'd never seen one before, and so the team started to go in March. So, and I'm taking you guys through this because it all connects together. So, and then in April, with that success in March, oh my gracious, all of a sudden I'm, got 20 active people, 100 points, ranked to gold, woo, woo, gold. This is great. I've kind of started to make my goal of originally making the $500 a month. At that point, my mom's on board, my husband's pretty on board. The skepticism, people are starting to go, oh yeah, this is maybe for real. So March, a good month. April was gold. May was an advanced, I ranked to senior gold, because all of those people coming on board at one time were excited, were passionate, started sharing. We started really launching it into this community. And at the time, I kind of had this vision. I thought, okay, my job, this is really what I thought about myself. My job is to make Plexus a buzzword in Hampton Roads, to make it a household name. That's what I know, that's what Celeste did down in McKinney, Texas. Those of you that know her, the top ranking measure, that's what she did. She created this kind of buzz in her community. So I thought, that's what I'm going to do. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So I had all these like huge, awesome plans to just go out there and just share. Change lives, share Plexus is going to be everywhere. I was going to be 40 in the month of June. I thought, this is it. You know, I was kind of thinking, about not homeschooling my kids anymore anyway. I thought it was kind of my season with that. It was over. I thought, this is my new season. This is it. I'm going to really go for it. The summer's going to be great. The fall is going to be great. I've been watching all these diamond documentaries about girls that were just like me, that were ranking up emerald in 5 months and diamond in 6 months and 9 months later. And everybody's talking about how, oh my gosh, you know, you can go skyrocket to the top. That was like, yeah, I got this, right? Okay. So guess, guys, what happens to me? I rank senior gold with all of these aspirations of this being my future, of, you know, really rocking this thing. On seriously, May the 31st was my senior gold. It was like the end of the month by the skin of my teeth. June the 2nd was the day that I went for that mammogram, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So yeah, you know, I've told you, I know you guys have heard this testimony before, but I cannot tell you how absolutely earth-shattering that was in every single way, as you can imagine, through family, you know, life, children, and then also Plexus. Plexus totally fit into that as something that I thought, are you freaking kidding me? How could this be happening when I just, you know, like really the rug just completely got pulled out from under me in my Plexus business. It was, you know, hard enough to even contemplate cancer with 5 children, 5 small children, life, all of it. But then to think in terms of like, I just started building something that I was so excited about and so passionate about and so ready to just go for. And then what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? How in the heck am I going to be able to pursue and keep this ball kind of rolling? Because the momentum had just started, people. Like, it was a brand new ball that was started rolling. And I don't share this with you guys. I share this with you because I want you to understand, like, the roadblocks of my business have been insane. And so, you know, there was a part of me at that point that contemplated, like, should I just crawl into a hole and just forget the whole thing? But also, there was also a part of me that says, you know what, cancer really sucks, and I'm just going to kick cancer's butt, and rocking my Plexus business is going to be a part of that, kind of showing cancer, this is not, you're not taking me down. I'm not going down without a really, really hardcore fight. And so when I was diagnosed in June, and I decided, you know, I knew that my chemo was a very aggressive tumor. At the time they diagnosed me as stage 2. We found out later it was actually stage 3. But anyway, I decided in June, I knew chemo was going to be starting on July 6th, so I had 1 month, you guys. So instead of laying back and being like, ooh, I said, you know what?
Oh, great. Yeah. Found some trash that was eating up there.
Okay. Yeah, right? I know. I have my 4-year-old that is not going to bed. So I decided to kind of double time it on really sharing Plexus and really going for it. Double timed it in June, probably the month of June, worked harder than I'd ever worked before, reaching out to people, following up with people, just, you know, staying up. I knew, because I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't know what chemo was going to be like. I didn't know how healthy I was going to be, or I wasn't going to be. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So the month of June was actually the only time that I did enough business to get on that leaders board. Now, they send out that email like every Monday. So I was like on the board, like one time my whole life, my whole Plexus business was in the month of June, the month I was diagnosed with cancer. And that was just for sheer determination. That was sheer determination of deciding to step it up, to go harder, to reach out to more people, to share with more people, and to really go for it, you guys. So I want to take you guys through this. So June was that. July, I started chemo. At the time, I had a pretty strong team of leaders. Those leaders, you know, were motivated. They were excited. We had kind of gone through this process. We were all kind of brand spanking new. We were moving in the same direction forward. So those really strong leaders started to build their teams, and so was able to rank into Ruby in August, which was like, you know, right in the middle of chemo. That was awesome. We had that leaders retreat that was coming out of October. So there was this really big push on our team. So people started, there was one in particular leader that was really strong. She really pushed. She grew very fast and rapidly. And she kind of helped get me, because this is a team sport, right, guys? At that point, it's all about the team. It's not about what you're doing. And that's not about what you're doing personally. It's what the people that are with you, walking with you in it are doing. And so by the time we got to October, the team was really on fire and really growing. And so me personally was able to rank to Senior Ruby in November. So that was great. So we had certainly, at this point, cancer had been a roadblock, but it wasn't affecting me. It was still okay. Everything was still okay. So then December rolls around, you guys, right after I ranked to Senior Ruby. So this is the next big roadblock. That leader that I told you guys about that was pretty awesome and was a rock star in every way, that was growing her team really, really quickly, disappeared. She just disappeared. An entire leg that was a part of my growth and part of the strength of this team went MIA, completely went off social media. I don't have to worry about her being on this call because she's gone. Okay, you guys. And without a lot of communication with me or anybody else on the team, really, I still don't even really know what happened, but I know in the month of December, I had a whole leg completely of 100+ points go away. And then a couple other team leaders had some personal problems going on, and that's understandable, and that happens in our lives. But there was this sort of and then in the month of December, me personally, was the worst month of my entire life. Okay, I don't know if some of you guys that are really close to me, maybe, knew it. Most of you guys did not. December, I had surgery, which was supposed to be stage 2, which chemo was supposed to work. My tumor was supposed to be smaller. Everything in my mind was supposed to be no big deal. I was just going to get rid of my tumor. I was going to get through cancer and life was going to go on. But in fact, when they went in and did surgery on me, they discovered that it was a stage 3 cancer with a very, very large tumor. I had 26 positive lymph nodes, which, you guys, is really insane. They had to take every single lymph node out of my arm here, okay? So they had to dig so far down to my chest wall that I'm deformed on this side now. So by the time, I got over that and I went to my doctor and they tell me all of this, it was for the first time in my life in the month of December, there was a really good, I thought I was going to die. I really contemplated what it was going to be like when I left this world and I left my 5 babies. And that is real. And let me tell you, that's not a fun place to be. There's nothing that shakes you more, that is more devastating than to contemplate not being around for your children. And that was very real. So I start crying. So the month of December, I obviously was not very productive myself, was obviously not able to do anything for this Plexus team. At the same time, simultaneously, I have a leg that goes bye-bye and disappears into the wild, wild west. And so there was no training calls at that time, you guys. This whole Tuesday training call thing is new. We just started doing this again in the spring. There was no Wednesday training one-on-ones. There was no events going on at that point. There was no boot camps. There was no nothing. This team was kind of like the desert out there. Everybody was spending for themselves. And it was the desert, the wild west, whatever you want to call it. That's what was going on for our team. And so the people that are still here and that are still productive and still moving forward, I just want to give you guys right now just huge applause and huge thumbs up, because you did that. You did that through a time when there wasn't this kind of community and there wasn't this kind of support. So anyway, I'm taking you guys kind of through this, starting with me. So that was December. And so when I kind of did that Senior Ruby thing in November and had seen that growth, I sort of projected, based on growth and based on the way the business goes and based on the past, that the emeralds, which is the biggie, that we all kind of want to get to, that emerald status where everything doubles, where you get the trip to Maui. You get the Lexus, you get the profit sharing of the company, a minimum $10,000 a month, when it's oh my gosh, life really changes and it's just crazy and you're an executive, and it's kind of like that breaking point, right? So that's Senior Ruby. Emerald's one step away from that. That was in November. So I go into my January and I'm thinking, I just got to get through my I'm recovered from December. I just got to get through my radiation in January and March. By the spring, the heavens will open up, emerald's going to happen. All of this suffering and this cancer and all this crap that I've been dealing with, this darkness, really, really bad for me, just just bad darkness stuff is going to be okay. I'll have that to look forward to. But guess what, you guys? Because of that December and all of those events that transpired, this team started going backwards. So the ship that had been sailing forward and there had been momentum and there had been gain for so long went backwards in January. Okay, well, we went backwards in December. Okay, I'll chalk that up to Christmas. January, the end of the month, we get to the end of the month, and oh my gosh, we're going backwards again. March. Okay, so what do you do? So I'm like, what do I do? All of this, how is this happening, and what am I going to do to help turn the ship around? And I haven't actually ever told you guys all of this because I didn't know if it was something, I didn't want to discourage anybody in any way, because you guys are awesome and everybody's doing their thing and everybody's working hard and everybody's, there's so many of you that are so passionate and you are out there sharing and doing your thing. And so anyway, so what happened is at that point, January, February, I get through my radiation. I'm now healthier than I've ever been. I'm strong. The Plexus products have completely gotten me through all of this. I mean, it really did. I didn't spend any time on this whole testimony telling you guys that, but the chemo, I got through it pretty good. I bounced back pretty fast, for compared to other people that I saw going through something very similar that were my age, completely different experience. So Plexus was absolutely a godsend in every single way for my help to get me through chemo, to get me through that surgery, and then ultimately get me through that radiation. And I joke around that I went through 5 weeks of radiation, 5 treatments. I had to go Monday through Friday, 5 times for 5 weeks. And I was still doing my Plexus thing, and I never even took a nap. You guys still did everything as usual and managed 5 kids. And I can tell you that is because of the Plexus health and the Plexus vitality and the Plexus energy, and what it did for me. And so, as I'm moving through sort of the business journey, I want to make sure that I really communicate that to you guys as well, because without that health, there would have been no way either to be on the other side and to be able to look back and say, wow, the business continued to grow. The family didn't fall apart. I didn't crawl into a hole and absolutely wither up and die, because I think that there's I've seen other women going through something very similar that is their experience, where they just can't cope. And it's not, and a lot of it has to do with that physical, that Plexus, the Plexus health products, kind of combat. So I want to make sure you guys really kind of get that. So I say, all right, so as a team leader who has this amazing team of people who are passionate, whose lives are being changed, what do you do as a leader when your ship's going backwards? And so at that point, I and I wanted to tell you, but before I do that, there was another roadblock that I wanted to tell you guys about, because I know a lot of you guys come up against this. It's the unhappy customer. And that was on my notes, but I started going on a tangent and I stopped looking at my notes, you guys. So before I get into the turning the ship around thing, I want to talk about the unhappy customer. So right after, I had the unhappy ambassador that told me that she hated everything that I did and she wanted nothing to do with me. The next month I had the proverbial really unhappy customer who tells me that it's ruining her health. And because at the time when I first started, I didn't know enough, and I was suggesting to everybody Slim and Accelerator. And, I probably wasn't educating them well enough to tell them to drink plenty of water. But she's like, no, I want you to, cancel my order. I want nothing to do with this. It's making me crazy. I'm unhealthy, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, so then that's another point that I thought, okay, I could either go, oh no, maybe this doesn't work. And oh my gracious, somebody's unhappy. And oh, that's terrible. And I'm just going to go run away and, not be as bold about sharing. But instead, what I did? I picked up the phone and I called her, and I thought of it as an exit interview. So I want to encourage you guys to do this. So when someone's unhappy, pick up the phone, call them, think of it as an exit interview that you want to learn from them, and you can position it this way so you can better help somebody else. I really want to know about your experience, because if I understand what didn't work for you, then I might be able to better help somebody else in the future. And this is a funny and it's a little extreme story, but I want to share it before I get to the end of my other story. So what I find out from her is in the past, she's tried these diet pills that had all these crazy chemical stimulants in them. And she started, in the past, that stuff made her really, really crazy. And she kind of went off the deep end, and she went and she cheated on her husband. So she's telling me this story as I'm doing the exit interview. So she's on these diet pills. She goes off the deep end. She cheats on her husband while she's on the diet pills. Her husband catches her, and then everybody blames the diet pills because the diet pills made her crazy because of all the stimulants whacked her out, right? And so she is on Plexus, and her husband sees the Plexus on like the nightstand. She has a fight with her husband over the weekend, and so all of a sudden, all of this stuff comes up again. Her husband freaks out on her. Like, she's telling me this, and I'm like, okay. And he takes all of the Plexus and he dumps it all down the toilet because he's convinced that it's a diet pill. I know, right? An entire bag of Slim. He like opened every pack and flushed it down the toilet. And so he was afraid she was going to go cheat on him again. So therefore, she could no longer do Plexus. I was like, okay, thank you very much. Okay, now that is a funny, true, extreme story. But what if I hadn't picked up the phone? What if I had never asked a question? What if I had never taken the opportunity to find out the real deal so I could help others? I would still be walking around thinking that Kelly, didn't like my products. There was something wrong with them. All right. So anyway, I wanted to make sure, because it was in my notes as I was talking about my roadblock, and that's a good one. So I want to make sure I told you guys. All right. So let's get back to, what are your colors going to look like? How, when you emerge on the other side of whatever your roadblocks are in your business, because we're all going to have them. You're going to have an unhappy ambassador. You're going to have somebody that decides to just completely bail that you thought was going to be an awesome business builder. You're going to have an unhappy customer. You're going to have life's distractions. And it might not be as serious as breast cancer, but it's going to be something. It's going to be a kid that, something happens to a kid. It's going to be a parent that you're taking care of. It's going to be, a job loss. It's going to be something, because life is constantly throwing something at us. Okay, so because it's never going to be right, it's never going to be perfect. And so the choice is, when it comes down to it, is what decisions are we going to make in our business and our lives that are going to keep us learning, growing, and moving in a direction that's forward, and on the other side of it, beautiful. Okay, and that's where the emerge, and I want to really talk about that word emerge, because it became very special to me in January and February as all of this was going through. And it became from my daughter's dance. I posted it, that was choreographed. And it was choreographed and anyway, about a butterfly kind of emerging, and what the life of that caterpillar is like when the caterpillar kind of has to go into darkness, and the caterpillar goes into darkness for some time, and this caterpillar doesn't know what's going on. The caterpillar doesn't know it. It's this ugly kind of creature. It goes into darkness, and it's this process of, the caterpillar doesn't even know how long it's going to be in the darkness. He has no idea when that emerging is going to take place. Okay. And, we've had caterpillars. We always do the little science experiments with the kids, and you get like 10 of them, and they're all on different schedules, like one goes into the cocoon first, and then the next one, and they don't emerge exactly the same. There's no two caterpillars that go into their cocoons at the same time. That emerge at the same time, and they always look very, very different. And so that became very special to me as I started to reflect on my own personal journey with Plexus, and also with breast cancer and with life and kids. And I started to see, imagining I don't know how long. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be in this. How long, are we going to be in the cocoon? But I want to tell you guys, and what started to occur to me as I imagined what I needed to do as a team leader, and for you all, I started to really look inward. And that's sort of what the emerging sort of started to teach me, was instead of looking outward, what can I do differently? Who can I, the tool, it became a matter of like, I need to be looking inward. I need to be examining myself and whatever is in me that needs to change on this journey, because it became so much more about personal development, personal growth, and what does that look like, and what has that looked like. And so that's where I am to talk to you guys about now. So it became not about promotions or the next rank or getting to emeralds or the money or the income or any of those things. It became crystal clear to me that all of those things are not going to happen until I am looking in the mirror and really understanding the things in me that have to change and grow, and so that I could emerge on the other side. And I haven't yet. And so that's where I want to take you guys to that point right now. And so there are some things, and this is kind of where I get vulnerable with you guys about some things that, as I started the personal journey growth, personal journey, and that involves reading lots and lots of books on personal development, reading my Bible more. That was something that I wasn't doing as well. That became about interviewing. I started contacting other leaders in the company. I started just going out of my zone, people that didn't even know me, that I didn't know, that I thought I respected, and for whatever reason, I thought I just would message them, and I would do interviews with them, and I would call them, and I started really kind of seeking, learning from them. And then, of course, doing all that for me, I'm faithful and did a lot of prayer. What does that look like? And so I wanted to share with you guys some of the things that I identified that needed to change, that I'm still in the process of working on. Okay, so here we go. This is where I get to be like, you guys, there's ways that I actually really did kind of suck. So I realized that I was completely goal driven. And the whole time, even throughout my cancer, everything was about this end goal, this end thing, that I was just driving hardcore and kind of cramming it through. And I was forgetting about the people. I was forgetting about the people on my team, to know them, to care about them, to see everybody as the most important person on the team, to really understand their challenges, their health challenges, their family challenges, for customers to become more engaged with to become less goal driven and more people driven. And so that was something that I identified. I realized that was a real weakness and a flaw that wasn't going to work. It's not going to work. This is a business about people and about caring about people and connecting with people. And I want to tell you guys, everybody that went to convention, how blessed I was by each one of you, and the friendships and the relationships. And it was really the eye opener for me, because I realized, I thought, if I had been that emerald that I wanted to be by the time convention, because I kind of thought, it would happen, that I would have missed so many opportunities to be with the people on my team who now I love and adore and just cherish my relationships with them, because it would have been in a different entrance, in a different place, sitting in a different place, and like these special privileges that, emeralds in the company get when they go to convention. And so I was like, I am so glad that wasn't me, because I would have missed these friendships and these people that are just such blessings to me. So I just want to tell you guys that was just really real for me. And, so that kind of goal-driven attitude, I had to take a step back and kind of lay that down, okay? Another problem that I identified with myself is balance. I tend to be an all or nothing kind of person in everything. It's like I get it on my mind, I'm going to go for it, and it's like all or nothing. Well, when you're a mother and your first job is a mother and your first job is a wife, and you have 5 children and your youngest one is 4 and your oldest is 14, and you have all of those needs, and you go all or nothing about Plexus, everything's going to come crumble. You can't let your world, you can't let the rest of the world come crumbling down around you. So I identify that as a real issue for me, that I needed to strike balance. I needed to have balance. And you know what? If because of that balance and my kids feel more loved and my home is more intact and I'm able to be more present for everybody, and that means that it takes an extra year to get to that, wherever, so be it, because that's really what's important. And so that has been part of my personal kind of journey growth. And I got in my notes here, I discovered as I was going through this sort of self-examination that I'm out there on an island. I had no power partners. I had nobody that I was really in relationship with, that was walking this business with me, that I was really becoming, I was just kind of on an island, and yet I had a great team, and we're communicating, and I was kind of like leading and doing stuff, but I wasn't really being vulnerable with a few power partners who were walking alongside of me. And so I decided to be intentional about finding people on our team that were relatable to me, that I could really walk with, that I could tell them that, like, then I could tell about the struggles that I was going through, and tell about the ship going down, so to speak, and the you know, how I was feeling about what that was like, and kind of walk with me through that. And so those of you that are, you know who you are out there, that have been doing that for me. So I'm grateful. Thank you very much for being available and doing that, and being that kind of sounding board. And then another thing that I just realized as this kind of personal growth journey was going on was that I was not very financially responsible. I'm not. I have been I've not worked for a decade, and my husband owns the business, and he would bring home the paycheck, and I would go spend the paycheck, and didn't really pay attention to what was coming in and what was going out, and fiscally completely irresponsible. And so if I was making Plexus money, then I was spending Plexus money, y'all. And that, you know, I really started to realize, I'm like, you are not, if you, you know, the blessing comes when you're given small things to manage. And if you don't manage your small things well, you will not be given greater things. And so that became very obvious and real, that I needed to understand money. I needed to understand if I was going to be making money. I needed to understand how to invest money, how to save money, how to be financially responsible. And so went out, sought out financial planner, sought out a business analyst to teach me how to do that. And through that, I've been really blessed, I feel like, and I've learned so much about how to do that. And I'm just really excited about kind of a new perspective on spending, saving, retirement. And I've been able to kind of transfer that over and start teaching my children those lessons as well. And so I'm grateful for that sort of personal growth voila moment. Okay, and so I'm going to finish out, guys. So here's, you know, sort of where all of this kind of comes down to, that it's absolutely not about anything that's actual, like, it's not about promotions, it's not about income, it's not about all of those things. What it comes down to, and what the emerging on the other side, what the emerging, the beauty, you know, when the butterfly kind of emerges and the wings, you know, come out, and the colors that fill the wings, it became very obvious and so real to me that the wings on the other side are colored with Lisa Winecoop's MS being relieved, and that awesome testimony she shared, and Sandy's migraines are better, and her life is being changed, and she has a whole new confidence and a whole new way that the whole new things that she's discovered, that she loves helping people. It's about Karen Rose and the love and the relationship with the community, and the confidence for her to know that she can do it, and that she's worth it, and that her life is going to be awesome, and we're going to be right there to celebrate with her. It's about Stephanie Betts. The colors are coming from Stephanie Betts coming on board as one of my greatest friends, who didn't need to lose weight, who didn't even really know what she wanted out of the products, to discover that her child, who has ADD, has been able to function in school and is getting praise at school because you know, she's able to focus better. And so their lives are being changed in that way, you guys. It's about Carrie's fibromyalgia and her quality of life being better, an illness and an autoimmune disease that she's had since she's a child. Plexus is the first thing that's given her any kind of relief. It's about my husband losing 55 pounds, and if 55 pounds equals absolute new lease on life, that means absolutely different quality of life. That means anxiety and depression and so many things that were very real that are okay now because of Plexus. That means my mom not having arthritis anymore and being younger in her insides to be able to go do these things that she does for my daughter Morgan. It's about Michelle, who didn't have to go out and get another job that she thought she was going to have to do, and her husband's back pain being, you know, that chronic back pain and being much, much better. And so I've made a list. It's about Dodie, who, you know, put out a video that completely I was so moved by it, that her life has changed. Her marriage is different. Her health is different. Her child is different. Like, her whole life has been blessed by these things. It's Lisa. And I'm going to keep going through the list, you guys, and I know there's so many of you guys out there that I don't even know. And these are just people that I know personally that have shared, It's about Lisa Ingby being happy again. She says that she's able to dream, and she believes that she knows that God's put in her heart to pursue this, so that she can afford to do the things in her ministry that have always been on her heart to do. These are the things, you guys, that when you push through, that when you don't let those roadblocks, like unhappy ambassadors, unhappy customers, life's distractions and illnesses. It's not about yourself. It is not about yourself anymore, you guys. It's about when you push through and you keep going and you get to the other side and you see how many lives, those are just a few of the lives that have absolutely been changed for the better, that if I personally had given up at any of those roadblocks, you guys, I wouldn't have those. I wouldn't have those colors. I wouldn't have those things to say, oh my gosh, these lives are being changed because I didn't give up, because I didn't let all of those things get me down. And so that is just, I just want to leave you guys with that. And I want to say, for all of you guys that I know that this business isn't, you didn't pick an easy business. I'm going to tell you that right now. As much as we make it look wonderful and, it's not that easy, you guys. It's hard. It is hard work. You know, it's commitment, it's hard work, it's determination, and it's not giving up. And it's going to be really great days where everything's awesome, and there's going to be days when it looks like everybody's complaining and everything really sucks. But it's those moments that you push through and realize that you have the ability to completely change someone's life. And so I just beg you, do not ever give up. Just keep moving forward, you guys, because each one of you are going to have wings. You're going to all emerge. We're going to all emerge together, and each of our wings are going to be beautiful and different, but they're going to be filled with stories. And so at 10:20, I want to say I love you all, and I'm blessed by you all, and I'm grateful for you all, and I am just so grateful and honored to be walking in this journey with you. And so I'd say good night, you guys.